But right now, for me to tell you to do something, you're not going to be very successful.
Welcome back to Joe in the Know. Today's guest I've known for quite some time now, and I've had the pleasure of working with for several years at this point. It's Mr. Brian Holloway. How are you?
Hey, good. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Today I want to talk to you. The main thing I want to get to is culture in schools. That's going to be our main topic today. But before we get there, let's find out a little bit about you. Tell everybody about yourself.
Well, my name is Brian Holloway, and I am at North Wilkes High School. I graduated from North Wilkes High School around Joe there. Went to school together. And after graduation, found myself going to Lenoir-Rhyne and Hickory. And a couple reasons I was going there. I was a late decision on my behalf, but had a buddy of mine from graduation that gave me a chance to go to Lenoir-Rhyne, knew nothing about it, but thought I might have a chance to play basketball. Realized real quick that college sports is not high school sports. And so, but Lenoir-Rhyne ended up being a great school. Got a lot of things, a lot of life skills through there. Ended up playing rugby a couple years, being a collegiate cheerleader my senior year. And then I stayed in Hickory for about 10 years total because I worked after graduation, worked as a children's pastor at a church over there. And that was where I kind of shaped what I wanted to do, working with youth. And made my way back to Wilkes by means of Ebenezer Children's Home, and worked at Ebenezer Children's Home for roughly 5 years and got an opportunity to come to North Wilkes. And so I was not a licensed teacher, did not plan to be teaching as much as I am now. I had came in a non-certified position to work with the youth and a different demographic, I guess you would say, and then here I am. So I've been there, like I said, about 10 years. I'm going into my 10th year, and so I really enjoy it.
Awesome. I didn't realize it'd been 10 years yet. I was sitting here thinking, okay, I think it may be about 8 years, so it's been 10.
I started in 2016, and so if I'm doing my math right, I think that this is going into year 10. So
you're a math teacher. We'll trust the math.
We'll see.
Okay, so I noticed last year when I was back at North High, you were kind of in the gym, you were talking to the kids, you were giving them kind of motivational speeches basically and trying to get them their minds right, ready to start the school year, making good decisions, things such as that. And, you know, that's kind of what got my attention. It was like you were shaping the culture of the school when you were doing those. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what you're trying to do there?
Yeah, so I guess I think it may have been about 4 years ago. It was right after COVID had came out. The county decided to, I guess they teamed up with a group. It's called Ignite to Unite, and they had brought out some leaders to do something called Breaking Down the Walls at the school. And that was a good program. I think they went into the middle schools and the high schools that year. And I got an opportunity to work with them during that event with some of the students there as the staff member. And that just really played into what I want to happen everywhere, from my children's pastor's days to when I was at Ebenezer. Now that I'm at a school, my whole life I've felt like that just making a difference with the youth is what I was called to do. And so after that event, it was a one-time thing, but talking with administration, surgeon there at the school, we just decided that how can we take this to the next level? Like, that was great for those students. I felt like that there were several students that got something out of it, but we can't afford to have somebody come out every year and to bring them in paying for flights for this. And so we did do some follow-up. We've worked with them a couple of different times, doing some leadership things. The other schools in the county, high schools came, and we've done a couple of different follow-ups. They were great to work with, but was able to take some ideas and some things that we done with that and run with it. And so I I sat down with surgeon. I'm trying to think how many, I guess 3 years now that we've been doing it, that we decided that, hey, here's what we want the culture of North Wilkes to be. Now, that's been already built, but culture is one of those things that gets used a lot. That word gets thrown around. But really, it's what do you do every day? How do you act? How do you take care of what's yours? And ownership. And so we want the students to get the ownership of the school more than the staff. I'm a coach at North Wilkes, coached track for 7 years. When I first came, coached soccer for 2 years. Now I help with the men's basketball team, and every team is different. Every year it's a different team because your culture shifts just a little bit, and it's intentional to make that program or make it what you want it to be. And that starts with, as a team, your athletes. And so building upon that, as the school, it starts with the students. But you have to have a leader, or you have to have somebody that's giving that message every time. And then our goal is that we build leaders amongst the student body that then spread that to each other, and grow from there. And so we sat down and talked about it, came up with the I am North Wilkes, you are North Wilkes, we are North Wilkes, and really just trying to embody the fact that everybody in that building is a part of North Wilkes, and we have to collectively do this to make it work. And I'm very passionate about that. Coming from North Wilkes, I know that it means a lot to me. My grandpa, I guess, started that in me, as far as being a bus driver there forever, and in sports teams and being everywhere. He was just a part of North Wilkes. And so I grew up with that, and then looked forward to going there, graduated from there, and made my way back. So,
yeah. Clyde, he was a staple there. I saw him there all the time.
I was always talked to him. Yes, he was. And that was, like I said, that was just something that he was a bleed blue kind of guy. He wouldn't miss it. And I was going to say, even, past last November, but even in his final days of barely being able to get around, he wanted me to come get him to that game, get him to the volleyball games, get him to the basketball games. He wanted to be there. So,
yeah, that's awesome. That's important. That's important. And that, you see that he kind of passed that on to you, and you're passing that on. And I think that's really important too, is passing the good values down to the next generation, getting that next generation focused on what's going to be helpful in the future for them, and build them and bring them up right. And I think you're a big part of that at North Wilkes High School. I noticed that you were one of the first people that I noticed doing that up there. And, that encouraged me also. I was like, I want to get that message out there. And so you kind of encouraged me to do this a little bit as well. So,
and Joe, I'll say that, you're from the North Wilkes community as well. So, as well as I do that, North Wilkes as a whole, like we're out there. A lot of people that come and play sporting events for the first time think that they're lost before they get to North Wilkes. And so it's one of those that we want people to be proud of that, though, that proud of, hey, we are a little rural area out here that nobody really knows about. And so what can you do to make people proud of that? That when you put down North Wilkes on something, that's not just, I have to write this down because that's where I went to school, but no, this is a honor. This is a privilege to get to go to this school, and trying to change that. And I felt like that we've came a long way. Our academics has been in the top, we've been in the top 2%, I feel like a couple years ago, top 5% for the past several years. And we've been growing, exceeding growth every year, trying to lead the way in a lot of different areas, sporting wise. We've had some great season. Our girls basketball state runner up. We've had several state qualifiers in different things. Actually won the Wells Fargo Cup last year for the conference. And so we've had a lot of good things going on there. And so that's great. But if not everybody is joining in together to do that, not everybody's an athlete, not everybody is a top scholar in the school, but they still play a role in that, and getting them to understand that it's not just about the elite people that it's about everyone. And without those around them, surrounding them, encouraging them, doing the right thing, that it is very hard to accomplish what we've accomplished while we've been, there. So, and it takes continued success to stay at the top when you're at the top.
Exactly. That was actually the next thing I was going to talk to you about was the growth that y'all had been exceeding growth and growing year after year after year. That was the next thing I was going to talk to you about. So, all cultures are not the same, and it seems like y'all are building a winning, developing and bettering culture there at North Wilkes High School. So it seems like what you're doing is working. So
it seems to be. We don't. Again, culture is one of those things that is very easily to. You take a little break from it, and before you know it, it's slipped. And so we've continued to invest in it. I feel like that the students, the seniors this year, they've been around long enough now to kind of know how things roll, how to pass it down, how to be there, getting some leaders in that. And that's what it takes. It's not me standing up. I can stand up and say, scream, yell, and I am a screamer or yeller, but it's one of those that, you can't do it yourself. The staff cannot make the students do it. It is a collective unit, and the students, we have a great student body. They've encouraged each other. I think that they've taken it and ran with it. And there's always growth to be had. And people say, oh, well, look at this. And we want to look at the positive things that have taken place with that. And so, I will tell you that I've always debated if I should write a book, Joe. No, I'm not a writer. So I'm a math teacher. Like I said, when I was at North, Miss Joins decided to tell me that I was going to teach math. And I was like, I don't know that I am. But I've been a teacher my whole life. I was at a church teaching. I was Ebenezer, still working with youth. That's being a teacher. Anytime you're around, you're teaching. And so math was just the subject that she wanted me to teach. And so here I am. But I have always thought about that pushing people to do better is like blowing leaves. And if you've blown leaves before, I know this kind of sounds out there, but every fall I'm blowing leaves. I'm thinking about it in the sense of not every leaf wants to go where I want it to go. Some of them go the opposite direction than I really want them to go, and they take a little bit of extra effort to get there. But how do you get them there? And it's anywhere from, changing your angle to make it work to maybe a little more pressure on some. Sometimes you have to bend over and pick them up and move them. And then, you think about the ones that you get frustrated at, you take your foot and you kick them and they crumble. And now you got a bigger mess and you got more trouble than what it was. And I think about that like working with youth, that sometimes they're going to go, some of them are perfect and they go exactly where you want them to go. And then some of them are going to go different directions, but that doesn't mean that you just leave them there. Your goal is to blow the leaves when you set out. And leaving a few behind is not, for me anyway, I don't want them left there. And so I treat the youth like that. And obviously, if you can get some momentum blowing leaves, the bigger the pile, the more momentum you get, they start to help push each other. And that's where I feel like that we're getting to now. I'm up there working the blower, doing my thing, but we're getting that momentum behind them, and it's really starting to push. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a really good analogy. At first, I was like, okay, where are you going to go with this? But as you started explaining, I was like, this is perfect. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I like that. So you didn't want to be a math teacher?
I originally, my first goal of going to college was math education.
Okay.
I thought that's what I wanted to be. I quickly felt like that I was getting called into the ministry, so I changed my degree. Going into my junior year, I changed my degree to a youth and family development, and it's a religious studies degree. I debated keeping the math as a minor, but I let it go, decided I was going to go down a different path. And so, no, I was a children's pastor, as I said, worked at a church over in Hickory. We had a lot of great things and growth, but when it was time to go, I knew it was time to go. and kind of went and worked at a golf course to soul search for a little bit, I guess you can say, mowing the greens and the lawns. You do a lot of thinking sitting on a mower. And like I said, found my way burying underground cable for a couple years, and then to Ebenezer. And at Ebenezer, I realized that, they do great work here in the community, and a lot of people don't necessarily know everything they do, but they do a foster care and adoption work, and that's where I'd never been a part of that until I was given the opportunity to work there, and kind of grew into a role there over 5 years that just opened my eyes a lot of that. I had been blessed as a childhood, and not everybody had the same growing up as I had. They did not grow up in the same environment that I did. And I thought that, I don't always felt like that I had it made growing up, but comparatively, I did. I had it really good. And so I wanted to give back. And so there was an opportunity. The school system had a position as a student success coordinator. And so that opened up in 2016, and it was a non-certified position. And so I took a chance to get my foot in the door, interviewed, and found myself going to North Wilkes to work with a class of those students that could have been potential dropouts. And so that quickly ended up getting moved into a position within the first couple months working with students that had been removed from your general mainstream education, doing more online programs, which was right down my alley. That is those were the students I wanted to work with. Then somewhere around Christmas, I guess I got called in, and Miss Joins was the principal at the time, said, "Hey, I need you to go take a math test. I want you teaching math next year." And it'd been 15 years since I'd done math. And so I took the test, did not do well on it. And so I will be the first to claim I'm not a mathematician. Ended up passing test and having to go back to school to take a few classes and teaching math. And so I started teaching math in the classroom in 2017. I work primarily with freshmen when they come in with Math 1, their first class that they take. And that's been going pretty well. But no, I did not set out to be a math teacher. I'm just here. So.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Let's go back to the book. Reading and writing, that helps cultivate the thoughts and the mind. And, also helps you become a better speaker. So maybe I should start writing. But I think that's something you should pursue. What's kind of your... what would you want to write about if you were writing a book?
I would say that I've always debated writing a book. I will say that I said that earlier. I don't know that I have any one specific topic, and that's where my head just goes. And I get off on something. It's like, wow, that'd make a good book. I'm not a writer, or I'd be an English teacher, I guess. But I'm more of math kind of guy. So I felt like I could go down the avenue of writing a book of about the leaves, or how to compare. It'd be more of a self-help book, I guess you would say.
Okay.
I always talk to the students as well. This is one that I always talk to them about day one, and I've always said this would be a book, my other book, that I would pursue. But every year they need help, and so I try to explain what does help look like as you're going through a class. And so for me, we talk about it being like a journey in a car. And so everybody's journey is a little different. If I were to give you my car keys, and I always do this, I give one student day one of school, I give them my car keys, and I say, here, I need you to go to my car, and I actually need you to take my car and go to Hickory, and that's where my in-laws live. I forgot something there. And they just look at me with this weird cross-eyed look of, what are you talking about? I don't even know who you are yet. And we have that discussion of, yeah, you're not going to have much success that's why we're here, is that you're going to have that success throughout the year. But right now, for me to tell you to do something, you're not going to be very successful because I've given you no direction. I've given you no help. And so, I talked to them about that. I am going to, through the year, I'm putting them in the passenger seat of my car. And that's them coming into the classroom with me, and we're going to go on a journey together. And this journey is going to go every which direction. It's going to be related to math. And while we're going, they're going to have to take some notes for some directions, because they're going to have to be able to get back to some of those places on their own. That they need to be able to look and oh yeah, he said to do this, turn left, and to go that direction. Sometimes they're going to get lost. They can call me, raise their hand, and I'm going to be there to help them, and we're going to go there. But a lot of students haven't been successful. We talk about has not been successful because they, see an airplane and two turns happen while they're looking at the airplanes, and they're going to sleep in the driver's side seat, and they're not very interested in education. And so we have some success with that. And I've always thought, that kind of makes a book of itself. And so we, a lot of times I tell them that they're not doing a lot on their paperwork. I'm a teacher that really likes to see the math done. And so as they're doing it, I go by and look, and if they have a blank paper, they've raised their hand and they'll say, hey, I need some help. And I'm like, you don't need help. You're stuck in your garage. And so that'd be the title of the book, Joe, Stuck in the Garage. And so how do you get out of the garage and get out on the open road to life? Not just in class, but I feel like that pertains to life in general. How do you get on the open road? How do you, sometimes take those alleyways and get lost and make your way back to where you're trying to get to? And so I just use it in the classroom, but that would be my number one book if I wrote one. Yeah,
well, I like it. I think you should start jotting some stuff down and get your ideas together. And hey, why not? Why not?
You gonna publish for me?
Sure. Yeah. If you write the book, I'll see what I can do to help. I'm not sure you'd want that, but so I was kind of curious to see if you wanted to be an English teacher when you said that about the book. So that made sense.
I'm not saying that. I feel like that teachers, and some people may have a different opinion of this, but if you're a teacher, you're a teacher at heart. You're a teacher, like I said, through and through. And the subject matter is the subject matter. Now, I'm not going to say that I'd be a great English teacher because I was not good at English myself. And you do have to know your curriculum. So English would be the one that I would probably struggle at the most. But if you're a teacher, then you can teach. It's all the material. Like I said, I started teaching. I was teaching the Bible. That's where my background was, and I was teaching children. Kindergarten through fifth grade was where my main focus was. Like I said, I was the children's pastor, and so I was teaching the Bible. Ebenezer, I was teaching life skills. And now I'm in the classroom. Yes, I teach math, but if you ask any student that's been through my class, they know that they can get Mr. Holloway off topic pretty easily. And math may be the small topic of the day, because I do think it's important that, we do have to cover our material, but there's more things happening that need to be discussed. And I'm going to teach those things as well. So,
yeah, for sure. So 5 years from now, outside of writing a book, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be? What's the goal?
Well, so a little bit more background about myself. And so didn't go into, I guess, my home life as far as where I'm at. Mm-hmm. So I have married to my wife. She's also at the school at North. And I have 4 boys. And so the oldest one just started high school at North this year. One started at the middle school, and I got 2 in elementary school. The youngest one starting kindergarten this year. And so when someone asks me, where are you going to be in 5 years, 10 years, I'm a family guy. I look at my family, think about, well, where are they going to be in 5 years? Where are they going to be in 10 years? And so I'm looking at 2 years out of high school, one going to be sophomore or just finishing up sophomore year, one getting ready to start middle school, and one still in elementary school. So I've debated a lot about where my path is going to take me. I'm very much open to where I'm getting called. So I'm a man of faith, and I feel like that I don't ultimately make those decisions every day. Now I have to follow and do what I do get to make the decision, but I try to be open and just led. And so I've debated a lot about maybe looking at administration. That requires going back to school a little bit. And so that nervous, when you're sitting here, in hit 41, it's one of those that I don't know if school, I teach it, that's great, but I don't know if I can sit in that seat again and do those things. But, I don't know. Right now I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm working in a capacity that I need to. I'm seeing a difference if I become ineffective and I know that, hey, I'm just here buying time, getting a paycheck, and I'm no longer effective in what I need to be effective in, then I'll think that that'd be a sign to move on. But until I'm called, I feel like I'm where I'm at. So,
good deal. Well, that's good. That's a good place to be when you feel like you're where you need to be. So, just keep praying about the book thing and jotting down some notes. You never know what might transpire. So, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure getting to hear a little more about your story, and I've had fun.
Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. And I do want to say one thing out there, and this is just something that's been on me to share, is that I hope that as people go through their everyday life, as they are watching this video maybe, that they do stop for a minute and think about what they can do around them, culture-wise. What can they do in their environment, their work environment, going to work, going to school, whatever it may be, and make a difference and change. So I appreciate you letting me share that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Our culture does become who we are. That's for sure. So that was a good thing you brought up, and people need to think about that. What lens they see things through and where they want to be, and are they living by the principles that are going to get them where they want to be.
Exactly.
And sometimes I wonder if people are taking that stuff into account when they're going through their day-to-day lives, but I think it's important.
It is. It's very important. And again, that's where it's at. It's not just I want to be there. What is it going to take to get there? And being very intentional in those things to make sure that it happens, and then enjoy the journey along the way. Don't just set a destination and try to get to that destination. Enjoy the journey. Those that are around you, don't just be rushing by. I think that's a lot of what's happened in community. When you're looking at culture, it takes community. It's not getting from point A to point B as fast as you can go. Stop and say hey to somebody along the way.
That's it. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. It was great getting that message out there. I think people could benefit a lot from it if they listen to it and try and live by it. So I appreciate it.